Good afternoon. I'm Raimonds Simanovskis. I'm founder of eazyBI, and I will tell you about how to use eazyBI to do software and service team performance analysis. So the first thing is that this week was a special week. We had a small celebration as 3 days ago there was the birthday of eazyBI, so I started to work on eazyBI 8 years ago. And initially was starting alone, but so now we are a team and having customers all over the world, as well as I'm happy to have many customers here in Israel. And where is eazyBI located? So we are top in the north in a country, Latvia, so in the same time zone, and some things are similar if we would compare. For example, if we would take a look at Tel Aviv beach, and if you remove all houses and replace it with woods and put some 10 times less people there, so then that would how our Latvian seashore would look like. And the other thing that you need to decrease the temperature by some 15 degrees, so then it would be current Latvian weather. So when we came here, so we feel like in summer in Latvia, and we are wondering why nobody is going swimming in the beach. So that we would do. So it's my first time here in Israel, and I'm really enjoying it here, and we'll spend some days more here. But let's go back to the topic. And what is eazyBI? So eazyBI is a general purpose business intelligence tool for data analysis and visualization. But our main differentiator is that we have very deep and integration with Jira, with the Jira as a data source. And as you probably know, Jira is a very powerful tool where you can put a lot of data in. But when you want to get the data out and analyze what you have there, the standard reporting capabilities are quite limited. So there are some reporting gadgets that you can use. There are some reports and charts in Jira Software or Service Desk. But there is some point until you can do some data analysis, but not further. And therefore, quite often when, after some while customers are using Jira, so they find out that they would like to use eazyBI for more advanced and custom reporting for their specific needs. So eazyBI provides a drag and drop report builder where you can analyze a lot of different so-called measures like issues created or resolved, unresolved, time spent, number of workflow transitions, etc. And you can analyze them by different dimensions, like by projects, issue types, priorities, and so on. And then, in addition to pivot table style reports, you can create also many different chart types, like bar charts, pie charts, line charts, etc. And in addition to the standard measures that eazyBI provides for you, you can also create a lot of different custom calculations. So we provide several standard calculation formulas, but you can learn how to use them and create your own specific calculations. Let me give you a quick demo, so for those of you who have not seen eazyBI, so how it looks like. So in eazyBI you can create many so-called eazyBI accounts, and in each account you can import different set of data from different projects. So you can select from which projects you would like to import the data, what fields you would like to analyze. Then we have integration with some other add-ons. You can select which custom fields you would like to use in your reports. And after the initial data import, the regular data synchronization will be performed. Then we create several predefined sample reports that you can use to explore eazyBI capabilities, like created versus resolved issues, where you can play with different selection criteria by different dimensions. But let me show you how you can easily create a new report from scratch. So I would like to analyze created versus resolved bugs over time. And I will select issues created and resolved measures. In addition, I will add average resolution days measure. And I would like to analyze it by time dimension. and also limit by specific projects, as well as select that I want to just analyze bugs as issue types. We'll select the time periods, for example, month, and we get the result and in a table view, and then we can switch to bar chart view, change to vertical bar chart, customize the colors, for example, that created our red, resolved our green, as well as resolution days have a different scale. We will show it as a line and on a different scale vertical axis. And then in the latest upcoming version, we have some new functionality that you can easily also add some linear trends for some measures, for example, issues created. And when you have created some report, you can save it and give it a name, and then it always will show the latest data when you open it. And the other example I wanted to show is that I would like to analyze features, how many features we have had historically in each particular issue status. I'll select issues history measure, and then we'll limit it by projects, and by issue types we will select new feature issue type. And then again, for the time dimension, we will select which time periods we would like to see. We would like to see them by month. And we'll analyze them by historical issue status, and not by detailed status, but I'll pick a status category. And now I see how many issues were in to-do, in progress, or done categories. And we can easily visualize it as a stacked bar chart. And save it and give it a name for this report. So when we have created many different reports, we can put them together in dashboard pages. So I'll go to the dashboards and create a new dashboard page. And we'll give it a name, and then I will select these two created reports for bugs create and then new features by status over time. Select the layout for that dashboard that I want to see them side by side, these reports, expand and preview, and we'll make the project dimension as a common selection criteria so that we can save it, and now we can change the project selection and see the summary overview of our project bugs as well as project features. And when we have created these reports or dashboards in eazyBI, we can publish them also elsewhere, like we can publish them on Jira dashboard pages as well as on Confluence pages. So I will publish it on a Jira dashboard page and select this particular dashboard I created. And these are fully interactive reports there as well, where we can change some selection criteria as well as drill through the list of to the list of detailed issues and navigate to the detailed Jira issue pages. This was a short demonstration of eazyBI, and but before moving and looking at some other typical examples, of course, quite often the first question is, why should we do any analysis? Why should we do reporting? And why analyze our team performance? So I have been working in IT projects for quite a long time and have been participating in many different project status meetings and for big projects. And especially when big projects are going wrong, then all the involved parties have some strong opinions. So what was causing that? And quite often each manager have their favorite topic that one will tell, well, we do not enough testing, or we had too many bugs after we deployed to the production. And quite many times I hear that, so there are some different discussions, but without having the same source data that we base our decisions on. Therefore, it's always good to start and define, so what we want to track and what are these metrics that we agree that we are tracking. And then when we have the same understanding of that, so then we can spend more time discussing how to improve that and not to discuss about the facts. Let me show some different examples how eazyBI is typically used for some other cases of these reports. So the first, as I was showing already, it's good to have some general overview charts about the project status over time. And those examples that I already showed are quite good for that. So either one typical example is that we are looking at these created versus resolved type charts and reports. And it's good also that in one chart we can also put some different measures and maybe with different scales, like I was showing that we look both at issues created and issues resolved. But we also, for example, include average resolution days, which are with different scale, but we can put it and see the correlations over time, whether they are changing in similar way if we get the resolution times are slower when we have more new reports, new issues created or not. And it's good to have that we always have some summary overview of the project status, that we can always have a look on it and see what are the trends over time. Or the other, this summary overview is this second type of report where we see the history of issue statuses, either all statuses or just in progress statuses, where we can see on a monthly or weekly basis how many issues, for example, some new features or bugs we have in progress, or review status or testing statuses, etc. And these type of reports provide a good overview, and we can spot easily some trends, how something is changed. As I was looking at and showing that quite often we analyze these issue resolution time. And most often we probably have a look at average resolution time and see how the average is changing. But you need to be aware that averages quite often can behave quite strangely, especially you have some outliers. If some old issues are staying open for a very long time, and then when they are finally resolved, then all averages might jump up, and it's probably not because in general it has something become worse, but just because we are closing some old issues. And therefore, instead of analyzing these averages, sometimes it's good to look at different measures. So the first fix, of course, is that instead of just all average resolution days, so we can exclude weekends, and we can analyze average resolution work days, for example. And I need to tell that in eazyBI you can define what are weekends in particular eazyBI account and in a particular country. But then the next thing is that you can, instead of looking at averages, you can analyze medians. And so the difference is that when you are looking at medians, that you just sort all the values in a row, and then you pick which are in the middle. And these medians are much less affected by some outliers, some very large or very low values. So they might more affect what are the typical average, typical resolution times, for example. But then the next thing is that sometimes maybe it's not necessary to look just at one figure, but look at more at the distribution. For example, how many issues were resolved, for example, in 10 days, how more than 10 days. And when looking at, or even further, you can define some time intervals that you would like to look at. For example, how many issues were resolved in a week? Up to 6 days, how many in 2 weeks, from 7 to 13 days, how up to 1 month or more than that. And then look at the histogram of spread of count of issues per resolution time, which could provide even a better understanding what are these typical resolution times. Then when you are looking at on different timelines, sometimes it's good to see what are the other events which are happening on that timeline, which might have an impact on the measures that you are analyzing. So the most common thing probably is that you can put version release dates as vertical milestones on a timeline, and then you can compare when you have either So do we have some increase in new reported bugs after new version release, or what happens before or after we are releasing some new versions? Or in addition to versions, it could be some deployments in production or something else, also some other events that you get from external data sources into eazyBI. Then the next type of charts are which can help you better to analyze correlation between different measures. And for that type, quite often the scatter and bubble charts are a good way how you can better visually spot some interesting data. For example, when using the scatter and bubble charts, you put one measure on one axis, so the other measure on other axis, and then you can, based on some third measure, you can change the size of this bubble, and for example, like here, analyze over time, issues, resolution count, and compare it with the resolution time, and categorize them by priority, and you can much more easily spot some large bubbles or some outliers in such type of charts. From the different topic, quite often we are reporting time on issues, and then hopefully we are using that information that we are analyzing where we are spending time on. Because quite often, remember from my previous experience that typically employees hate logging time, because so it quite often doesn't provide any value for them, and then just maybe some management is looking at that. And so if you are requesting to log time on issues, then you better use that information and understand in what granularity you want to use that and what are the things you want to analyze. And with eazyBI, you can analyze this log time by any issue fields, by projects, by components, if you use tempo timesheets, by timesheet worklog attributes, etc. But it's always good to understand that's maybe limit, and so to have a good time reporting, so you need also to have good quality data, and sometimes maybe even requiring less accurate data can provide you a better quality result, because if people will do it on time. Then moving to some specific typical reports for Agile team working in sprints, for example. So with eazyBI, you can create different type of sprint burn down and burn up charts, where you can analyze how many story points were resolved during the sprint, what was the cumulative story points burn up line going on, how was the burn down line going down, as well as calculate estimated trend lines for these burn downs, and see in the middle of the sprint whether it seems that we will manage to complete all planned committed story points. And then when you have this historical information over time, how many story points were committed and completed by sprint, you can compare how is your velocity doing over time. And quite often this velocity will vary over time, and so you will not get the same velocity. But by theory, so it should stabilize over time. But sometimes it's good also to create some rolling averages. For example, calculate running velocity for 5 last sprints or 3 last sprints. And then by theory, it should fluctuate less than individual velocity. But if it still changes significantly, also this running velocity over time, so then that's probably something you need to take a look and investigate it why it is so. And with the eazyBI, you can easily drill through the details So why actually completed story points or just number of issues are different from what we committed initially. So you can see how many story points we committed in the beginning of the sprint for each sprint, how many were added, so were there any changes in the sprint scope after sprint was started, how many were changed during the sprint, and then at the end how many were completed or how many were removed during the sprint, and how many were left not completed at the end. And then you can also analyze service desk project information using eazyBI. And so the typical things that you would measure, that you would define all necessary SLA, service level agreement criteria in service desk, and then you can get all the source information from that into eazyBI and analyze over time. So how many, for any SLA defined, how many tickets met SLA criteria, how many breached, what was the percentage of met versus not met, and then always those which didn't met it, you can drill through and see the details about these tickets and investigate it, what was the reason why they were delayed. As well as you can analyze actual time, and then probably over time you need to adjust these SLA targets, as initially quite often we are just dreaming up some target timing, how we want to solve them, but probably we need sometimes we can reduce sometimes we need to increase some time to be able to meet that. And then, of course, you can analyze also service desk tickets by any JIRA issue field, like, for example, by request types, by projects, by components, etc. And if you see something is increasing or decreasing, you can drill into details and understand what is causing, what type of service desk tickets we are getting more or less, and how any SLA criteria does it vary between, for example, request types or any other fields. So I was showing a lot of different sample reports, sample charts that are typically used using eazyBI. It's also important not to use these samples just by management, just by project management or top management. It's also good to communicate these key indicators to all project team, because if the all project team knows that these are the important things that we are following on, and then it will influence behavior of that team, and all team will know what we should concentrate on. And with eazyBI, so there are different ways how you can communicate these indicators to all involved employees and managers. So you can publish these eazyBI reports in JIRA dashboards, which everyone is using. You can publish these reports on Confluence pages where the project information is kept. It's also possible to create email subscriptions where you can tell that, for example, each working day in the morning export this eazyBI dashboard and send to these people via email. As well as you can create so-called wall boards or information radiators where you can put in some public spaces, for example, next to coffee machine where everyone gathers in the morning, and then you can put there some key indicators so that everyone knows, and probably we'll talk about these indicators, how to improve that, and not just what they did on the weekend. And also, I wanted to tell that eazyBI is not just for JIRA data, so there are a lot of other integrations. At first, you can get data from other JIRA apps, add-ons, and custom fields. We have standard integrations with tempo timesheets, Insight Asset Management, Pro fields, project fields, different test management tools, including X-Ray, who is present here. As well as you can get data from other data sources. You can import data from other SQL databases, from MySQL, Postgres, SQL Server, or Oracle. Or you can import additional data from REST API sources, or from files, CSV or Excel files. And you can both combine these other data with Jira data, as well as if you have additional data sources for which you don't have a good reporting tool, you can use eazyBI to analyze these other data as well and publish in the same way as you do with Jira data. So for existing customers, we have spoken with several. We have informed about some current things that we are working on in the upcoming eazyBI version 5. So we are doing a lot of improvements and upgrades in our internal platform and libraries to be compatible with the future Jira versions and future Java versions. We are improving the measures and dimensions user interface for building new reports and allowing to searching these measures easier and finding them easier. As I was showing in this short demo, we are adding capability to much more easily add standard calculation measures to reports, so that you don't need, so you need to write less custom calculation formulas. As well as we are doing some improvements for account administration for administrators. And finally, just wanted to shortly mention that we are also working on a new product, new integration with Confluence. So we are creating eazyBI for Confluence, which and then you will be able to use eazyBI to analyze Confluence page creation, update, as well as page view statistics. And so in the same way as you can create custom reports for Jira, you'll be able to do for Confluence as well. So it will be coming soon in the nearest months, and please follow that. And so so for those who haven't yet used eazyBI, so eazyBI is available on Atlassian Marketplace, and it's available for all Jira deployment platforms, for Jira Cloud, Jira Server, Jira Data Center, and the eazyBI technology as a product is almost the same in all versions. So the only difference is how we integrate with the source data and how we retrieve the source data. So that was the summary overview of typical use cases, how eazyBI is used, and thank you for attention, and I'm ready for questions if you have. Yeah, so the question is how we do improvements and make it more user-friendly. So the primary input is from our customers, so we base this feedback from customers, from support, from partners, how we prioritize our further development. Also, yeah, when sometimes we are saying internally that sometimes in the first version we make something possible, and then in the next version, so we make it easier to use. So the general slogan for us is quite often so to make simple things easy, but then still make hard things possible. But over time, we try to make more of these hard things as simple things. And that includes also the user interface. So we are now working on the next version, so to improve even more for the report builder, this functionality. We will do also in the upcoming months some improvements and upgrade the charting capabilities, what we have, and other things. And of course, so sometimes we need to be more, or sometimes be more conservative as those users who already are using that. Yeah, so we don't want to make too many dramatic changes at once. So we make changes one by one, as sometimes when those who have used to something, so they wouldn't be happy that something radically changes. But yeah, definitely provide us, we are all the time working both on new functionality, new integrations, but as well as we see from the customers what is understandable, what's not, and how to make something more easy to use, more understandable, and definitely we appreciate always the honest feedback by customers. Thank you, yeah, so for feedback, and also thanks Methoda for being very good partner for us and providing good feedback and introducing to new customers here in Israel. Okay, so if you have any other questions, yeah, so we are still available during today outside, and please come to us and ask more detailed and tricky questions. We will be happy to answer that. Okay, thank you.